Hey guys, welcome to my space. Come on in, the water's fine. This is me, this is it. I'm Kevin Kubota, in case we haven't met yet. This is my studio here in Bend, Oregon. One of the most beautiful spots on earth, but don't tell anybody, it's a secret, all right? And this is our studio. I've been a pro photographer here in Bend for about 10 years, but a photographer in general for about 20 professional years, and a few more than that, which I'm not gonna reveal to you exactly how I am, but a long time. I've been a photographer. 20 years professionally and 10 years here in Bend. So this is our little place. We built this studio about 2 years ago, and it's been a dream of mine for many years to actually have a space that was mine, that we get to design the way we wanted, and so it's kind of a dream come true, but you don't have to have your own studio. We didn't have one for 18 years. I worked out of my home, had an off-site space for a while, and sort of evolved it. But I definitely am an advocate of keeping it small, keeping it simple if you can, if that suits your model, and we did that for a long time. We love the space though. My dream was to have a space where I loved coming to work. I wanted to be able to come to work and admire the environment, and to feel creative and feel inspired, and I wanted the people that worked with me to feel the same way, and that's kind of why we designed and built this space the way we did. We spent a lot of time of our lives at work, so it's got to be a creative space. If you're a creative person, it's got to feel good to come to work. So let me show you around real quick. This is our meeting room. This is where we sell slideshows to our client, and we can rearrange the tables here and set it up any way we want. Use it for a conference room, use it for meeting. We love to sit out here in the sunlight when days are nice and talk to our clients out here. It's a great place to get to know each other and to just share some of our work and find out what they're all about. And we can transition into there to show slideshows. We have actually 3 businesses under the same roof here. My photography business, we have Kubota Image Tools, which is software and training for photographers. Many of you are familiar with that. And we have a Book downstairs as well, which sells books, albums for photographers. We also have Red Boot Design, which is a design service, album design service for photographers as well. So 4 businesses actually. I said 3, but I meant 4. And this is where we work. Did you guys catch me on the frame show last season, by the way? It was really cool. They did a great job on it. It was a fun episode. We did some photo shoots, bikes jumping, people in caves, bats, explosions, bombs, naked girls, naked guys. Everything you can think of was on that episode. So if you didn't get to see it, go back and watch the first episode of Frame to see what we do behind the scenes on a photo shoot. But after the photo shoot's done, that's only 50% of the work. You got post-production, and that's what we're all about in this series of episodes here called Post-Pro. And what I want to show you now is what I believe is just as much fun as the shoot is the post-production. Taking your artistic vision from the start to the finish. And that really is what makes you unique as a photographer, is what you do to the image in the camera and after the camera. You're an artist, you're not a reporter. Maybe some of you are reporters. That's fine. In that case, you don't want to mess with the images too much. But if you're an artist, if you're a portrait photographer, you're a fine art photographer, you can take the liberty to do whatever you want and put your personality, your passion into your images. And this is where my passion happens. Wait a minute, my wife here? No, this is where my other passion happens here. This is my workspace, and we're going to get started in just a minute here, tweaking on some images. So come on in, enjoy, and let's get busy being post-production professionals. I'm Kevin Kubota, Post-Pro. Thanks for hanging out. Let's get busy. Hello, welcome to Post-Pro. I'm Kevin Kubota. I'm going to show you some real basic stuff, essential stuff in Lightroom to get your images looking great right off the bat. And we're going to work our way up to the more complicated stuff, but this is some cool stuff you need to know before you can go. So let's get started. First of all, when you're working in Lightroom, and we're going to work most of our workflow, my workflow is based on Lightroom. I use Photoshop and Lightroom in tandem together. And in Lightroom, there are some really basic things you can set up, preferences. There are some basic presets you can set up, so when you bring your images in, they look dynamite right off the bat. Okay, a lot of people ask this one question. They always ask me in my workshops, why do my images look different in Lightroom than they do in the back of my camera, or they look different than they do in some other program, my my camera software makes them look this way and Lightroom looks totally different. So the reason for that is every program has its own way of interpreting the raw data, and it confuses people. So in order to get around that, to make those images look the way you want them to look, there's some presets you can apply by default when you bring the images into Lightroom. So I'm going to show you how I create my default presets and import the images. And then we're going to take one of these images here and do a nice little basic adjustment. I'm going to show you how to use some of the real basic tools in Lightroom, but the important tools and how to use them right. And then we'll get ourselves ready to do more complex and exciting stuff. So let's get started. First thing you want to do here on your screen, on my screen, you can see I've got a template folder. And this template folder is something unique that I create and I encourage my workshop attendees to do. And this is basically a very simple setup of all the folders that I'm going to use through my workflow. All right? And you'll notice in this set of folders, these are all empty folders. I haven't put anything into them yet, but I'm going to put my images directly from the camera card into this folder right there. You'll notice too there's a catalog, a Lightroom catalog, and it says rename me. Why does it say rename me? Not because its mama gave it a bad name, it just needs to be renamed. It's a template. So why do we create a template? Because I create one catalog, one job. One catalog, one job. A lot of people think in Lightroom you can put all your images into one giant big fat catalog, and you can do that, but it's not really safe. And we want to practice safe cataloging. So one catalog, one job. One catalog, one job. Got it? Why one catalog, one job? Because a very big catalog gets corrupt easier, and it starts to slow down. The more you add to it, the slower it reacts. It makes everything feel like you're working in mud. And mud's only good for nightclubs. It's not good for working in Lightroom. So one catalog, one job, things work faster and less chance of images getting corrupted and your catalog getting corrupted, and that's a big deal. So we don't want a catalog that we've worked on for months to get corrupt and disappear. And I've had it happen. It's bad. All right? So this template allows me to set up my catalog with all the basic things that I want already prepared. So what are we talking about? Well, let's open up this catalog through this template folder. So what I'm going to do is take this template folder, duplicate it, radio, and I rename it. So this is going to be Lily and Ruby. This is the job that I'm working on. Let's do that again. Rename this one. You got to give it a name that's unique. So Lily and Ruby portraits. All right, and I've got all of Lily and Ruby's images already downloaded from my card. And there's another good tip for you. Download directly from card to a folder on your hard drive. I recommend not using Lightroom or any other third-party software to import your images. There's more chance of them getting corrupt. So take them from the card, download them directly to this folder on your hard drive, and then once they're there, they're safe, they're complete, and you've checked the cards, then you can import them to Lightroom. All right, so I've got the images here, I've already downloaded them. I'm going to put them into the originals folder, and we can put them in any one of these subfolders that we've already created, just moving them in there. And now I'm going to take this catalog that says rename me and rename it Lily and Ruby. All right, to match the name of the job. And then I can double click to open the catalog. And this catalog is going to be nice and blank. That's the way we want it. But we've already set it up because this was a template, remember that? I've set it up so that I have collections already made. You can see here we've got collections for customer orders. I've got collections for ISO finders. Why would I use ISO finders? You'll find out later if you stick with our episodes. ISO finders, I can set up my little template for my name. Any other settings that I typically use that are particular to a catalog, I've already set them up. Now I can import the images, clicking on the import button, and I'll go right to their folder, the one that I just downloaded. There are all the images. See them? They came in. It worked. Whew. So far, so good. All right, first thing I want to do though before I bring these in is I'm going to show you how to set up some presets and some preferences in Lightroom. So I'm just going to take one image. I'm going to uncheck all and just grab myself any one of these images. I'm going to grab one with a typical range of colors and tonality here. And I'm just going to import the one image. And the reason I'm just bringing one in is I don't want to spend the time waiting for them all to come in while I show you. Let me talk about this. But we have the images in, and you notice now on my monitors, 2 monitors, I have a nice color accurate monitor here. This is my main monitor for viewing my color corrections. And then on my laptop is where I keep the basic catalog and I do most of my work, my email and blah, 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 right? So 2 monitors is one of the cheapest ways you can improve your efficiency. In fact, I think it will. No, and I know because I've done tests through Dungeon to verified my test that you could actually, yes, we have verified. Using 2 monitors will extend your life by 3.5 years, which is probably as much as quitting smoking. So it's a good thing you did that too. So use 2 monitors, it's cheap. You can actually buy a cheap monitor. If one of them is color accurate, buy a cheap monitor for your second one to view your images or your thumbnails on or something like that. But I use a nice monitor for my color accuracy and then my laptop monitor for everything else. And it gives me a little more space to work with. So here's that one image. We got the one image in here. And what I want to do is to set up a basic import preset that I can use on all my images as a starting point from now on. So some people say, hey, the image came in, I don't like the way it looks in Lightroom, it looks kind of blah. Well, it looks decent here, but I want to give it a little more oomph. So what I'm going to do is go to Develop Mode, D shortcut on your keyboard, and in Develop Mode, I'm going to look at some of these little settings on the right of my screen here, and you can see now we have all the adjustment settings. I'm going to bump up my clarity to about plus 50.2796, thereabouts. I'm going to bump up the vibrance about 27. And the saturation, only 4 points. And the reason I only go 4 points on the saturation is that you don't want to, 4 or 5 points is okay. Too much saturation, the colors in the face are going to look weird. You get orange skin tones. Whereas the vibrance will punch up the other colors, the blues, the greens, but leave the skin tones mostly unchanged. So I can get richer, punchier colors with the vibrance without making skin tones look weird. All right, and clarity reduces the fuzziness, the haziness that we typically get from digital images. So I'm going to bump that up. I like the look of more clarity, adds a little more crispness to the images. And not Christmas, but crispness. Got that? And bump that up about 50 or so. Scroll down through my settings here. If you typically light your images with more contrast, here's a tip. Set to the point curve to strong contrast here. Don't set the contrast up here with these sliders. Why? Because the sliders up here will override any other settings as you bring in each individual image. This will override any auto settings that might happen. Okay? And you don't want to override any auto settings. You want to let them do their thing, whereas this tone curve will add to whatever settings already came in. So small little difference, but it's a big difference, so make sure you know that. If you want it as a default, change it in the tone curve to strong contrast. Okay, the other thing that I typically do to all my images is to add a little bit of post-crop vignetting. And post-crop vignetting just allows me to darken the edges a wee little bit. Because I like this look. It's actually designed to, originally was designed to fix problems with your lenses, whereas I'm going to use it for effect. So just crank it down. I prefer to use highlight priority or color priority as the mode. It looks better than the original paint overlay, which looks like somebody just spit up on top of your image. So use highlight priority or color priority, drop it down a wee little bit, and you're set. So those are the settings that I like as a starting point for all my images. So I'm going to save them now. So right over here on the left where it says presets, I'm going to click plus to create a new preset. And if I want this to appear at the top of my list alphabetically, put a couple little star characters or some squiggly little dead snake or something in there and call this my groovy baby default. All right, put it in whatever folder you want. And here's the key thing. All of these settings here, I start off with checking them all, using the check all button, okay? And then I'm gonna turn off some of them. I'm gonna turn off the process version and the calibration because I want everything else except for those to be laid out at these default settings. But the process version, if you update Lightroom and you're using a new process version, you want to respect that new process version, and this allows you to do that without affecting the other settings. So just another small little tip there for you. Check everything else and hit create. Oh, let me back that up. I'm going to uncheck process version and calibration. And I'm also going to uncheck the basic tone settings because I want those to be applied on an image by image basis in case I use auto tone, which I may use later on. Everything else will be saved. Okay, we hit on create. And now we have down left here my groovy baby default. And now I can use that when I import all my images. So let's go ahead and really import our images. I'm going to go G. Go back to the library. I'm actually going to delete this image from the catalog only just so we can start fresh. And now we'll go back to that import dialog box that we saw earlier. We'll select the same folder full of images. This time I'm going to choose all the images, and right over here where it says develop settings, I can now pick my groovy baby default and apply it to all the images. Throw in a couple of keywords on here, portraits, Lily and Ruby. Okay, I'll throw in my copyright metadata tag and click on import. And now the images are mine. And we wait. All right, once your images have imported, you'll see that there's a rendering standard previews little progress bar here on the top. That's okay. You can go ahead and start to organize and work on your images and flag and rate them and whatever you want to do. I want to show you first just some really good basic developments. But you'll look at the images now. As these basic previews are rendering, it'll be applying that default that we set in the presets. So now they're going to be changing from the camera embedded JPEG to my custom look, which I like. And it gives me a great starting point. So what I want to do is I'm going to pick out an image here and just show you some good basic adjustments. And let's start with an image that probably has some challenges. These are all nicely exposed. There's not really a whole lot of work that need to be done to them other than just retouching, some slight enhancing. But I'm going to pick an image that I know I have in here that I like a lot, but was shot under challenging lighting conditions. All right, so here's an image here. I love this image. We shot it with just backlight, all natural light, no existing lighting. This was at the very end of our photo session. This was a really fun session. We set up these two little girls to go shopping, and we set up lights, and we did some nice stuff with them with shopping girly stuff all over them and playing with each other, and they were hilarious. They were great. And at the end of the shoot, as we were done, this little girl gets down on her chair, starts taking off her boots, said, "Mommy, my boots hurt my feet, can I take them off?" She starts taking them off, and they were so cute. And it was just natural light, so I just grabbed a few shots, and actually turned out to be some of my favorite shots of them, just that last minute. So again, it's great to always be ready, and you never put your camera down until those models are gone. It's kind of what I'm thinking usually. When they're out back in their car and disappeared, that's when my camera goes away, because there's always going to be a moment you can capture. And this one I would have missed if I would have packed up my camera with everything else. But we got it, and it has great backlight. I love the feel of it, but it needs a little bit more oomph now to their faces. It's a little washed out, and we don't see their faces very well. So I'll take this one image here, hit D, go into develop mode, and you can see the difference here on the monitors. I don't know if you can see it as well on the camera back there, but there's difference, right? This one looks one way, that looks a little different. This one's more color accurate. This one's not so much. These Mac laptops are pretty good, but not as good as the ISO monitors there. So that one's the one I'm looking at when I'm judging my color and the density of the image. Okay? That's why I have the second monitor. So now I'm going to go to this image here, and the first thing you want to know about your adjustments here on the right when you're in develop mode is it's basically a step-by-step process. And a lot of photographers think that you're going to adjust the brightness, the darkness of the image with exposure, because that's how we do it in the camera, right? Makes sense. But it's not how it works in Lightroom. Exposure is for your highlights. So the first thing you would do is take your exposure slider and adjust it until the highlights in your image look about right. Now this image here is intentionally overexposed in the background. There's no way I'm going to get detail all the way back there. So even if I drop the exposure way, way down, there's still blown out areas, and that's okay. That's the way it was shot. It helps to give that fresh, natural feeling to it. But I do want a little more highlight information. So I'm going to drop my exposure down just a wee little bit so my highlights give me a little more of the shapes in the background there. And then I'll use my fill light, okay, that's 2 sliders down, to open up the shadows, and the brightness slider here for the midtones. Okay, so now I can bring the midtones, the shadow detail, the highlights will remain where I set them with the exposure slider, and I've got detail all in the midtones here. I've already got the clarity, the vibrance, the saturation set because that was part of my default. Don't need to tweak on that. The only thing I want to change now is a little bit more contrast because of the diffusion from the backlight. It tends to lower the contrast when you have that the light shining into the lens. Simple problem to fix. I'll just crank my contrast just a wee little bit here with this slider, and now it's starting to look the way I want it to look. Okay. The other thing I want to do is tweak the color balance just a little bit. Now, if I had something truly white I could white balance off of, I could take my little eyedropper here, just click on it, or you can hit the W key on your keyboard to grab that eyedropper, move it over the image, and select something that is, or should be, truly white. And in this case, the only thing really that I could use would be her top or her top here. But neither one of those are really the white that I want. So I'm going to go manually and adjust the white balance. And what I'm doing is basically just looking at the images. I'm going to see I need a little bit of green and then a little bit of blue. And that looks about right. All right. Now we're pretty close. So I've got it overall looking about right. Maybe let's do a little bit of contrast, a little bit of brightness. Punch that up a little bit. Okay. The other thing we can do, and here's a cool little tip, one of my other favorite tools on basic image adjustments, and I use this on a lot of my images, that's why I'm including here on the basic section, even though it's kind of an advanced thing, is the fill brush, the selective adjustment brush tool, which is shortcut K on your keyboard. It's easy to remember because it's Kevin's favorite tool. Shortcut K. Boom. Brings up your selective adjustments tool, adjustment brush, and I'm going to create a fill flash preset, and you can do this too. Just go to your menu here, set the brightness all the way up to 200, everything else is zeroed out, okay, brightness at 200, and I'm going to set my brush feather, okay, so that it's about 1/3 of the diameter of the circle. And my flow down low, you want the flow about 20 or so down low, and the density all the way up to 100. Okay, a lot of people are confused on which brush settings are the best to use when you're using this tool, and these are really good ones. The reason I set these this way is that it builds up slowly. So you paint, it builds, gives you the great effect. All right, I'm going to save these settings and call it Fill Flashy. And now I've got my brush, and I'm just going to dab a little bit on her face, a little bit on her face, a little bit on the foreground there. Okay, so all I did, and you can see the adjustment spots there, is to paint a little bit right on her face. Okay, before and after. You can hit the backslash key on your keyboard, another little trick here. The backslash will show you the before and after on your main monitor, not on the second monitor, but here we can see before and after view. Okay. All right, so I did the fill flashy. I created a second one, which is the burn tool. Okay, burn, which is basically the opposite. Take the brightness down And now I can use the burn tool and take down some of the edges, and that's kind of nice to do sometimes. So I'm just going to darken the edges, give it a more vintage camera feel. Take down my edges just a wee little bit. And we're just about good to go. Always looking at my main monitor here to judge the color, judge the accuracy of it. Maybe I can do a little more fill flash on her face and we'll be set. So if I select that dot, digital fill. Last thing I want to do is I'm looking at this image on my main screen. I want to add a little more fill to her face here, to her eyes there. So I will select the one that I already created, the brightness adjustment here. And I'll do one more little dab on her face. So just whoop, right there, boom. Now it lightened up her face nicely. Everything else looks balanced, has a kind of a nice, kind of a 70s old film kind of a feel to it, which I like. And we're good to finish off this image. All right, that's it for this first edition of Post Pro. Gave you some good basic tips on importing your images into Lightroom, how to get a look that you like right off the start, and then how to do some really important but basic adjustments. Now next week, we're gonna work on this image here, and I'm gonna show you how I get this cool, I call this effect Twilight. And we're gonna go beyond the basic and now into creating some cool effects in Lightroom using the built-in tools that you already have right in Lightroom, giving you cool, vintage, stylistic looks with very little effort. So see you next week for Post Pro with me, Kevin.